Yeah, put him in the back. Put him in the back.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Steve Holmes. Welcome to another episode of The Real. Thank you all for joining me tonight. Listen, as you can see, I am not at home. I'm not at my home studio because I'm actually on campus. And tonight we get the pleasure of speaking with somebody who I think is very, very, very important to our institution tonight, President-elect Albert Mosley. It is a pleasure to meet you. It is a pleasure to have you here, and I think that a lot of people are happy about today, about what we're doing. And so we're having some technical difficulties, but if you guys just give me a second, we're doing this live. We got the whole team helping us here. And so you guys just give us a second as we're going through technical difficulties. Give us 1 second. it back on. Y'all just bear with us. If you can hear me, we're having some technical difficulties. All right, they gave me the green light. Apologize for that. We have a whole team of people. We got a new setup. We got multi-cameras. We got lighting. We got all this stuff going on. So bear with us tonight, if you will. So listen, as I was mentioning, we have a very special guest in the house tonight, President-elect. I'm gonna be, is that being accurate by calling you President-elect? All right, because I know we got a little bit of time before you actually move into the house. But right now, I want to go to what I normally like to start off the top of my show is connecting with the people who are most important to our platform, and they are our real MVPs. And if you guys give me a second, like I always do every week, normally I'm sitting at my desk, and normally I have my notes and all those things kind of right in front of me, but we're doing some things different tonight. So Eric, who has 3 times this month, he has been a 3-time contributor this month. Theron is also a 3-time contributor. Milan, Adrian, Vernon, Josephine, Darius, Edward, Johnny, Oscar, Derek, Jason, Jamila, Lenitra, Alonzo, Gerard, and Altamont, my buddy. Thank you all, because you all help power our show. You guys help us continue our grassroots effort as we look to grow our platform and as we look to go, again, just grow. And so aside from that, we're not here to talk about the housekeeping things tonight. We've got a much, much bigger topic to talk about, and that is the future of Bethune-Cookman as we are in transition, as you all may know. And so I'm thankful that we get to sit and have some one-on-one time with our new president, the 8th president in our 120-year history. And so how does it feel, and what was it like when you got that call?
All right, Brother Holmes, before I answer that, let me first thank you for what you do, man. Every single week, at least since January, being that sort of vessel of communication and providing an audience for alums and friends of Bethune-Cookman to be able to tune in, and doing it on your own too, you know, with the support of a couple of people, the MVPs and several others. So hats off to you, man, for this kind of platform. And that's why,
thank you.
You know, when we were thinking about how to introduce myself to the community, my first thought was, let's go to Brother Holmes first, and then we'll hit everybody else, because the work that you're doing is really, really significant work. So
I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah. So that was a good way for me to not answer your first question, but let me answer your first question though. Man, gratitude is a word for me. Absolutely grateful. Just very grateful to God to be afforded the opportunity to lead this great institution. You know, we all stand on the shoulders of other people, you know, each and every last one of us. And when I think about what that means for me, you know, quite honestly, it's overwhelming to think of the people who've gone before. And who've led this institution, people like Dr. Brunson, Dr. Colson, Dr. Bethune herself. And so just sheer gratitude that God has made it possible for me to follow in those footsteps. And so that's my word of the day, gratitude.
That's a great word. I do feel that gratitude. I was speaking to a couple of people today, and I think when I walked in, just the weight of the moment it was kind of heavy on me today, just because, you know, you walk in this place, you got Dr. Bethune, she's staring at both of us right now. And, but it's just, every day when I wake up to do what I do and to do the show and research and talk to people, like, it's all to make her proud.
That's right.
Right. It's all to make sure that, like, we're upholding her legacy. And so, again, we're in a precarious but very positive moment in the history. And how does that feel for you coming into the school at this particular moment?
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the word legacy, and to just reflect for a moment upon, again, the connections between that and gratitude. The mere fact that we have an awesome responsibility to build upon this legacy It's a legacy of excellence. It's a legacy of greatness. It's a legacy of ensuring that that young men and young women from various backgrounds can have an opportunity to come to Bethune-Cookman and have their lives transformed.
Yeah.
During my campus visit in the interview session with students, one of the students referenced one of Dr. Bethune's quotes about black roses and how, you know, she specialized in taking what were designated as black roses and transforming them. And when the student asked that question, I said, you know, I think about myself. I think about how I'm a perfect example of that. You know, as a first-generation college student, born and raised in poverty, and being afforded opportunities to go places that I would have never imagined that I would go before in my life. And the responsibility that we now have to ensure that others can do the same thing. So lifting us with climb.
So what has you most excited? Like what's the thing that's getting you going?
I think it's kind of a balance between excitement and probably at the same time some early exhaustion. You know, because there are a lot of things that we've got to tackle on day one. So there are a lot of opportunities that we've got to really focus on, and the majority of those opportunities, as they should, they center around our students, ensuring that our students are successful, ensuring that when they come here to Bethune-Cookman, number one, that they can persist and stay. Number two, they can graduate, and once they graduate, getting them decent placements, making sure that they find viable employment so that they can begin to give back to their communities. And so when I think about, what's ahead, focusing squarely and directly on the success of our students. And of course, there are all kinds of other things we got to tackle as well.
Yeah.
But all of those things eventually revolve around our students, as they should. And if they don't revolve around the success of our students, we probably don't need to be talking about them and focusing on them.
Yep. Speaking of students, from your last position, like what was your relationship with the student base there? Like how would you, like were you on campus a lot? Did they see you a lot? And then how do you think you'll be here with these students?
So there's one of my staff members shared this with me the other day. There's and students here probably are familiar with this. There's an app that students use. It's a geo-based app on their campuses called Yik Yak. And so when the announcement was made on my campus that I was leaving, one of my VPs came to me and said, I want you to see what students are saying about your departure. And so, they were saying, oh man, I can't believe he's leaving. Like, he's the GOAT. He's always at our games.
GOAT. He's
in the CAF all the time. He's at all of our events, that sort of thing.
Good.
For me, I think leadership itself, it involves you being with and among the people that you're leading. That includes your students, your faculty, and your staff, but especially your students. Being present at their events, celebrating their successes. One of the it's kind of an unspoken rule, but a spoken rule where I am now at Morningside University. I say to my cabinet members, hey, if there is a major celebration in the lives of our students, they need to see us there. We need to be there. We need to be there cheering them on. Because in the absence of their parents, if their parents or guardians or others can't be there, that's who we are.
Yes.
That's our responsibility. That's our role as adults in their lives, to be there to cheer them on and to ensure that, hey, they're going to succeed and they're going to do great.
Yes. You mentioned faculty, and I know they've taken a little bit of a beating, over the last decade or so. I don't necessarily know if I want to ask you like what plan you have for them, but how do you address the situation with re-energizing our faculty, because they've been on the front lines for a long time dealing with some things that we all know. But how do we pour back into them all that they've been dumped out over the last several years? So how do you kind of tightrope that?
Well, our faculty and our staff actually, these are the folks who day in and day out, they show up, they're present in the lives of our students. They're in the classrooms, they're in the offices. They're the ones who have worked for, in the case of faculty and probably staff as well, I think at least 10 years without raises.
Right.
And yet they show up and they do the hard work.
Yep.
And they do that because of their commitment to this institution, because of their love for the institution.
Yes.
I think about this often. Bethune-Cookman, in the last 8 years alone, has had, I think, about 6 or 7 interim or acting presidents.
Right.
So there is no other entity in our society that can survive with that sort of turnover.
Right.
Like take a church, for example.
Oh yeah.
If you got a church and you got, in 20 years, if you got 6 pastors, people aren't going to stay, you
Nope.
know. But with all of the turnover and all the transitions we've had, students are still looking to come here. And I think at the core of that is the fact that we have a dedicated faculty and staff who show up no matter what.
Yep.
From my own perception, I know they're underappreciated. They're certainly underpaid. One of the things that I want to do very early on is a salary survey. At my current institution, this is the rule that I have at my current institution. I want my faculty and staff at the very minimum to be at the median pay of all of our peers.
Yes.
So
That's
we
fair.
know who our peer institutions are.
Yep.
And that information is available. We can pull the salaries from the different databases that we have access to and see where our peers are paying faculty and staff. And at minimum, our faculty and staff should be at the midpoint. And if we can, we need to take them. They should never be below.
Yeah.
Because you have people who are extremely committed, seriously speaking, who give their all in all to this institution. And we've got to acknowledge them. We've got to recognize them.
When I came today, I saw, obviously there's a few staff sitting behind the camera, but I made sure that the ones I saw to tell them, like, thank you for what they've been doing, because again, they put up with more than they probably should have, and a lot of them stayed, and you stayed through all of what, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to, the ones that I've seen, I just tell them thank you.
Yep.
Like, thank you for staying, thank you for holding the line, because like they're holding the line for all of us.
Yep.
And so, yeah, that's important.
And man, listen, that goes a long way. It really does. Just saying thank you to people and expressing that sincere appreciation to them. So I mentioned I grew up in abject poverty. Most of the people that I grew up around were people who didn't have a college education.
Right.
My mom was a housekeeper. She cooked and cleaned in people's homes and that sort of thing. And so I have a natural affinity to people who work really, really hard and who often go unnoticed and often go unappreciated. And so one of the things that I'm very intentional about is when I see someone, I learn your name. The next time I see you, I'm going to call you by your name. Because most of us, when we hear our names called, especially those of us who are in positions and in places where we don't often get noticed, we work hard, they're behind the scenes, nobody notices them, nobody recognizes them. To say somebody's name and to greet them by their name, and for our people especially, you think about the history of our people where we were called things other than our name. And when you call us by our name, that's a recognition and really a sign that you value the person, and that you think that what they're doing is really significant and it's meaningful.
And it humanizes them, you know.
Yeah.
It's, so more tactically speaking, how would you like your first 100 days to look, and what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, before I answer that, let me just say this. These are great interview questions, by the way.
Good.
And so, this is like CNN level stuff here. So, I really appreciate that.
Right.
First 100 days. There's a lot that we've got to tackle. A whole lot we've got to tackle. There are some really sort of immediate pressing problems, and you got to balance those with the longer term, larger strategic problems or strategic initiatives. So the immediate problems are things like, we've all seen on social media about the housing crisis, or I don't really call it a crisis because we don't have all the data yet.
Right.
But we've seen that on social media. When we think more broadly, we know we've got challenges with our facilities. We've got to develop a facilities condition study. We know we need to do a capital campaign, so we've got to launch a capital campaign. So I think just finding the right balance, the right mix between the immediacy, what we have to do immediately, and what we need to start focusing on for the long term.
Right.
And so my first 100 days, I want to tackle some of those immediate things, and I've kind of developed a plan of what some of those are from my perspective, and I'll learn a lot more of those as I get on campus full time. But while we're doing that, focusing also on the much broader vision, because it's not just today that we have to address. We have to address today, but we got to think about tomorrow, next week, next year, 2 years out, 3 years out, 5 years out, 10 years out. And I think for most people who are good transformational leaders, you figure out how to balance that. Sometimes, this is what I've noticed, sometimes you can become so narrowly focused on the challenges of now until the future escapes you.
Oh yeah.
And so you're spending all your time addressing challenges of now, and you need to do that, but you've got to balance it with the future as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna get on some of my people online for a second.
Okay.
And I just gotta say this because I see people online and we do these, we make posts and things, and especially about the student crisis. And I'm saying it in jest.
Yeah.
But like you have comments and they're like, we should build new dorms. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we need new dorms, but that's not gonna happen by August,
Right,
that's gonna happen 2-3 years from now at best. So I say that to say there's a lot that has to be done, and I think we just have to have patience and again, making sure that we know whatever the strategic plan is, that people are aligned with it. And so, I just wanted to say that because I think sometimes people don't realize how much it takes.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning about a capital campaign. What does that even look like?
Yeah.
Like you hear it in talking to professionals and people in the top office, but what does a capital campaign look like?
Well, first, let me say this. A college or a university, it's like a cruise ship. It's not a speedboat.
Yeah.
And to turn a cruise ship
Takes a lot.
It takes a lot.
Yeah.
It takes a lot, and it takes in the case of a college or university, it takes a cycle or two for you to be able to turn it in the direction you want it to go. So it's not going to happen immediately, and I think that's one of the things that I really would like for everyone to understand and to grant us grace as we work to solve the problems.
Yep.
A lot of these problems some were created overnight, but some are long-standing problems. And as we began to sort of, I haven't gotten under the hood of the car yet, all right? So I'm kind of,
You were listening to my show, 'cause that's what I said. Listen, we got to get up under the hood of that car, and it's a lot.
I have not gotten under the hood of the car yet. I'm looking at it now on the outside. It looks kind of, the body looks good,
Yeah, kicking the tires.
It's starting up a little bit. I haven't checked the thread on the tires yet.
Yeah.
When I pop the hood and look under the hood, I don't know what I'm gonna see.
You gonna find some stuff up under that hood.
Yeah.
So
And we are. But here's the point. We will find things there.
Yeah.
But we will have in place a team of individuals who are committed to this institution, a team of individuals who understand and love Bethune-Cookman University. And we will get to work and we will find the solutions that we need to find.
Definitely.
And that's, my philosophy when it comes to things like that. I operate out of excellence. That's the way I operate. We need to do, whatever we do, we need to do it excellently, and we need to do it well. And so where I am now, they get sick and tired of hearing me say this, but I say it very often, I don't do junk. I don't do junk. I don't expect you to do junk. When we approach our work, we've been afforded the opportunity to do significant work to transform students' lives, and that's not something we should take lightly.
No.
It's not something we should take lightly. We need to show up every day with our best selves and do the work that we've been assigned to do.
I was going to ask you what your guiding principle was, but you just told me. I don't do junk.
Yeah, but actually, I got 3 things that I'd say to my own kids and to my students as well. 3 lessons that I try to live by.
Okay.
Very simple. Number 1, bloom where you're planted. So wherever God places you, I don't care where it is, do the very best. And what happens a lot of times is people are, you're placed somewhere and you spend most of your time trying to figure out how to get out.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You will get out if you do the work, because
Come
other
on.
people will notice the work.
Yep.
And they will see it. So bloom where you're planted. That's number one. Number two, leave it better than you found it. So when you leave a place, people should be able to say, wow, this person transformed this place. This person left this place in a different shape.
Yeah.
And number three, this is important. Serve in such a way that if you had to go back, you could. Don't burn bridges.
Are y'all listening? Are
Yeah.
y'all?
Don't burn
everybody?
bridges. Serve in such a way that if you had to go back, you could. And I say that to my students. I say it to my own kids. And I try to live by those three principles myself.
That is-
I spent the last 3 years in Iowa. And I worked my behind off in Iowa.
Yeah.
I raised a ton of money. We started all kinds of new academic programs like aviation, AI applications. Over 12 new academic programs started under my leadership. We've done significant capital projects. And I'm in the middle of nowhere, in
Yeah.
Sioux City, Iowa.
Yeah.
But again, my philosophy is bloom where you're planted.
I
It
love
doesn't
it.
matter where God places you.
I love it.
Do the very best.
These are the types of messages that the students, and I don't know how many students are online. I can't see the chat, but if you're in the chat, students, let us know you're a student in the chat, because those are some, it's a lot of wisdom in those bloom where you're planted. So what steps, this is again more of a tactical question, what steps will you look to take to help improve again student outcomes and graduation rates, placements, internships? I know that's a boring question, but that's actually why we're here.
Actually, it's not boring. That's
Yeah.
a very significant question. Man.
Yeah.
That's an incredibly significant question. So we're looking at, so we start with retention. So year 1 to year 2 retention is one of the biggest ones. Our year 1 to year 2 retention is fairly low right now. I said this during my campus visit.
Oh, do you have an idea why that is? Do you have any theories?
I have a theory.
Okay.
When we admit a student to this institution,
Okay.
this is my personal belief,
Okay.
we have a moral obligation as the institution, we have a moral obligation to do all that we can to ensure that that student is successful. All right? So I think about myself when I went to college. I'm gonna be honest with you. I probably shouldn't have been admitted. I'm just naming it. I probably shouldn't have been admitted. I didn't have any money. Nobody in my family had gone to college. I knew nothing about college, And as a matter of fact, my first semester, my freshman year, I never will forget this. I went home for Christmas break. I get home, my little small town in Mississippi. I walk in the house. I saw this big old stack of envelopes from my school. And I said to my mom, I said, why didn't I open these? And she's like, well, it's got your name on it. Well,
Oh.
we're not going to open it.
Wow.
So I opened one of the envelopes. Guess what it was? Bills.
Oh.
And the one on the top said, you can't come back next semester because you ain't paid your bill yet. And so my point is, we have a moral obligation to ensure that our students are successful, to ensure that they persist and that they can progress and graduate. There are some very, very intentional initiatives we can start to help with retention. So one of the things we started where I am now, so when I got there, our year 1 to year 2 retention rate was about 63%, which is pretty high for some places, but it was kind of low for our peer group where I serve now. We've increased our year 1 to year 2 retention rate by 10 percentage points. We're up now, a little bit over 10 percentage points because we're at 74% now. And one of the ways we did that is we started what's called a peer mentoring program. And so we take current upper class students, we specifically train them on how to mentor first year students. And each, those students who are selected as peer mentors are assigned a certain number of students in the first year class. And the reality is this, Brother Holmes, while those students will listen to their academic advisors and other people, they're going to listen more to their peers.
It's true.
And all the research indicates that. And so you're seeing peer mentoring programs pop up all around the nation. Not only that, but we established what we call a one-stop student success center. So when students have questions about their bill or, how do I fill out my financial aid form? Those are the kinds of things that really can make a difference in terms of whether a student stays or not.
Yep.
And especially, I go back to myself as a first generation college student, a lot of us underestimate just what a small bump in the road can do to a student.
Yeah.
Something
Oh,
that,
yeah.
that appears minor in the eyes of some people, that one little thing can actually derail a student's plans.
Yes.
And so I think it's our responsibility and our job to ensure that we are there to provide the kinds of services that they need, the kind of support services they need, so that they can be successful.
Yeah.
And so there's no secret to this.
Nope.
If you retain more students, if you increase your retention rate, so let's say you go from, I think we're hovering, what I saw in the federal data that I could pull, we're hovering somewhere in the mid-50s for year 1 to year 2 retention rate. As you increase your year 1 to year 2 retention rate, and you continue to retain students who are sophomores and juniors, your 4-year graduation rate, which is what the federal government tracks, 4 and 6-year graduation rates, those rates begin to improve as well. Because think about it, the more students you retain,
Yep.
the more that will eventually graduate.
It's true.
But if you're losing 50% of your students in your first year, and then you're going to lose some more the second year and third year, that 4-year graduation rate is going to hover around 30-something%.
Yeah.
You know, by the time you lose all those students.
Yeah, and I saw that like firsthand. I was in the band.
Yeah.
And my freshman year, we started with probably like, I don't remember how many of us, but it was a bunch of drummers. I was in the drum line. And it was maybe 25, 27 guys
Yeah.
that started my freshman year. By the time, I graduated, it was like 4 of us left,
Wow.
5 of us left.
Wow.
Now, obviously, some of them went on to military, transferred and stuff like that. But I hated it because like we came in together, but a lot of us didn't finish together.
Yeah.
And some of that is experience, it's financial,
Yeah.
it's socioeconomic, like whatever it might be. So you brought up a point that I think is important that I want to give a shout out to somebody in the room right now, Dr. Sherry Paramore. Helping kids when they hit that small bump in the road. And I know they started the GAP program, and it's the Graduation Assistance Program. And it's a big pot, not a big pot, it's a pot of money that helps the kids when they get to graduation, when they hit that bump in the road, and it helps them get over the hump. So kudos to Dr. Sherry Paramore and the rest of her team for like implementing those types of initiatives for the students. I know they appreciate it. Where we at? Alumni. They're going to be your favorite group.
They're going to be my favorite group?
They're going to be your favorite group.
Yes.
They should.
Yes.
So there was a time some years ago where the alumni were kind of vilified. And it made a lot of people they didn't like the school as much as they used. They didn't love the school as much as they used to because they felt like a target had been placed on them.
Right, yeah.
And so you may have heard about it during the time you were here. And most people, how I saw it wasn't so much that they separated or divested the Mary McLeod Bethune Alumni Association from the school, but more so how they did it, how it was done. And so there are a lot of alumni that are watching this tonight that are wondering like, okay, how are you going to help the alumni get back into the fold where we belong rightfully and not on the outskirts, just looking at the school flounder or thrive, right? We should be there in the good and the bad. And so there's a lot of alumni that are wondering, okay, like what about us? How do we fit in the picture?
Let me use this analogy of a family. So I've got 2 older brothers, and I had 2 older sisters. I have 1 now. 1 passed away. In our house, we might have fights. We may not be able to get along with each other, but I tell you one thing. When we walk outside that house, if you mess with one of us, then we're going to all come to each other's aid. So my point is, we are members of the same family. And while we may fight internally, what we do not need other people seeing is us fighting one another.
Right.
So my approach is to bring all members of the family back to the table. Let's come to the table. The worst thing that can happen for us, the absolute worst thing that can happen for us is, as we're talking to donors, as we're talking to private foundations, if they're seeing in the media constantly infighting and disagreements between us, then that doesn't inspire confidence in who we are as a family. And I know there are lots of hurts and pains from the past, and I'm not minimizing those at all.
Sure.
Those are very real hurts. Those are very real pains. People feel that they have been, as you said, they've been disregarded. They feel that they've been disrespected. But we've got to get everybody back together in the same space and start talking with one another again and ironing out some of our differences. And so one of the things that I certainly intend to do with the help of Dr. Paramore and others is to connect with our alums, to visit with our different chapters and to talk about what our vision is for the future. And more than anything, to say to our alums, here's what you can do to make our family a whole lot stronger than what we are. There is room for everyone at the table. There's room for everyone. There is no reason why we should be fighting against one another. And again, it's not minimizing our differences, but what we need to be able to clearly say to people on the outside, especially those donors who are not alums, especially those private foundations who we go to and we ask for major donations from, they need to see that we are a unified entity. I know from my own experience in fundraising, I'm a fundraiser at heart. I raise a ton of money. I know from my experiences in fundraising, people are not going to give to you when they see that you don't have your act together amongst yourselves. In fact, when you go to private foundations, oftentimes one of the main questions they ask you, they don't ask how much your alums gave. Nobody's interested in the amount. They ask the percentage of your alums that give. They ask the percentage. They want to know what percentage of your alums are actually giving. So what I say to my folks where I am now, like we do for our annual fund, we do a faculty staff campaign, we do an alum campaign, all of that. But our faculty staff campaign, 100% is our goal every year. And what I say to them, it can be $1 that you give, all right? What we're counting is the actual participation rate. And we want, and we need our alums. We need all of our alums. We're not in a position where we can say to alums, hey, guess what? You're mad, so don't give. We're not in a position to do that.
Can't do it. Yeah. I made that point last week, and shout out again to the alumni that gave last week during the big give. That was last week, right? And $800,000. That's nothing to sneeze at. One of the things I was a little bit discouraged by was the amount of gifts that I think that was online. It was like 400 and something or whatever, which thank you to the 407 that did it, but it's 20,000 alumni or some big number like that. So that doesn't really cut the mustard for the institution. We need, even if we had 10%, like that'll make a big difference, but we want to shoot for like 20, 25, 50%. And so I know that'll be a challenge for you to get everybody, energized to give. But I do know for a fact, especially with my generation, there's a lot of pinned up giving that they were just waiting. They're just like, all right, like I want to start back my recurring payments and this and that, but I just need to make sure coast is clear.
One of the interesting things about that is your generation is a generation that's building capacity and wealth, and many already have that capacity and wealth actually. And one of the things that we failed kind of at writ large in all of higher ed is how to reach your generation when it comes to giving. Now we do pretty good at reaching the baby boomers and the generation of folks who graduated from our institutions, let's say in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Where we fail at is reaching those who've graduated in the 90s and in the 2000s. And so, one of the ways to potentially do that is to, Brother Holmes, I'm about to deputize you, and that is to get people like you, my brother, to help us reach folks in your class. And even like, where I am now, we do class competitions. We do class year competitions on our annual day of giving. Well, we do it by the decades, actually. So we say, the 90s against the 2000s, the 2000s against the 2010s, that sort of thing. And we set a goal for that. And it's a very competitive spirit. We have captains for each year. So what year did you graduate?
2006.
You're going to be the captain for Dr. Paramore. Here's your captain for 2006 class.
What
right
just
here.
happened right?
Yeah.
What in the world?
You're the captain for the class of 2006.
All right.
And we're going to set a goal for that. To class of 2006.
All right. Okay.
So you're going to give 1,000 yourself. And then by the time we add in what your wife is a graduate too, so
she is.
So maybe 1,000 there, so that's 2,000. And then we add in the rest of the members of your class. The class of 2006, they're going to give at least like $25,000, $30,000.
Man, that's
right?
not it. I can't say no. You're sitting right here. I can't.
Putting you on the spot.
He's
right?
put me on the spot. Yeah, but yeah, listen.
That's what good fundraisers do. Dr.
You're
Perlman
right.
does that.
I see it.
She has
I
a
see
philosophy.
it. I know.
I watched her. She has a philosophy.
I know.
She don't leave a room without some money.
It sounds like
right?
I'm leaving with something. That's what he said. What Denzel said. I'm leaving with something.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Listen, if you're watching and you have any questions, put them in the comments. And I got my computer here, and if it works out, I'll ask a few. We're 8:40. We've got about maybe 5 to 8 more minutes before we wrap up. While I set up my computer, is there anything? Oh, I got a good one. This is a lighthearted question. What's something about us that we don't know, that we would know unless like we knew you?
Something about me, you mean?
About you.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to answer that by way of hobbies, all right?
Okay.
So I'm born and raised in Mississippi, in the country. I love to eat good food, which also means
You're a foodie.
I love to cook good food.
Oh.
So I got some signature dishes. I will challenge anybody in Daytona Beach, Florida, or the surrounding area. This is a challenge.
Are you sure you want to?
I will challenge anybody.
Okay.
All right. Red beans and rice. That's one. I know for a fact nobody's gonna beat me at that.
Okay.
I see you looking, Kathy. You're
All right.
not gonna beat me at that. So I'm very confident in my red beans and rice. Catfish, fried catfish.
All right.
You grew up in Mississippi. That's all you eat. You know.
Yeah.
But I got kind of my little list of things that I like to do in our house when I cook. We call it our what do we call it? Our fat food night, because it's going to be high in butter, lots of butter, probably a little bit of lard in there, a lot actually, not a little bit. It's going.
Are you cooking tonight? Cause I ain't ate dinner. Like,
look, I'm staying in a hotel. They don't have a
okay,
kitchen.
all right.
Yeah, but no, seriously, I love having. I mentioned that table a few moments ago. I love having people around the table.
Yep.
And food is one of those things that connects us, especially our people. Food is one of those cultural things that connects us as a people. Food is very important to us and to our culture, and it is to everybody. Really, you think about it globally.
Yep.
And I love to cook. And here's the weird thing. I like to cook, and then when I'm done cooking, my family and everybody will sit down, and we have friends and people over, and everybody's like, "Well, why aren't you eating?" I was like, "Well, I was eating the whole time I was cooking."
I know that's right.
I
didn't have my plate.
I got to sample it to make sure it's right,
Yeah.
But I do it with a different spoon. I don't do it with the spoon I'm cooking with. All right? So,
You can't do that, not in the black household.
Yeah.
Listen, they kick you out.
yeah.
At your own house.
Yes, they
Yeah.
sure will. Yeah.
So I had a good question in the comments. This is from Kevin Floyd. He asks, what is the goal for funding for athletics, facilities, and the band? Let me put an emphasis on the band.
Okay, an emphasis on the band.
That is, let me park here for a second. You was here long enough that I think you knew what the pride means to this institution.
Oh,
like
absolutely.
they are, I would say, our biggest marketing tactic that we have. And so we definitely I'm what's the word? I'm asking you to make sure that you look out for that program over there across the street because everybody loves them. They represent us well. And when times were bad, when times were ugly, you could look at the band and feel all right because you knew they was gonna look how they were supposed to look. They was gonna sound like they were supposed to sound. And the HBCUs, if you ain't got no band, you ain't got nothing.
Right.
You ain't got nothing.
Historically, there's a story I read about where when Dr. Bethune was still here herself as the president, there was a gentleman they sent down from Nashville who was one of the executives in the Methodist Church. they were coming down to complain about spending on the band, actually. Because even during her time, there was a lot of money being spent on the band. And he came down, he was a very respected gentleman, and she highly respected him as well. He's like, you know, you guys have to watch your spending on the band, or the Methodist Church is going to have to cut some of his support. And her response to him was, do what you have to do. The band will remain where it is, you know. And to your point, the role of the band in HBCUs, and especially here at Bethune-Cookman, is just absolutely crucial to our identity. And you know, and one of the things even where I am now, our band is nowhere near the level of the band here. But when I think about the other sorts of extracurricular activities, these are not things we make money on, to be honest with you.
Right.
We don't make money on them.
Right.
But if you take them away, guess how much money you're going to lose?
Yep.
All right? You're going to lose a ton of money if you take them away. And so my philosophy always is to support. So those are the things I call the qualitative effects of the institution.
Yes.
You know, you have the quantitative things, and you got the qualitative things. You know, I don't have a direct number or measurement to give you for the impact of the band, but I can tell you this: if you mess with it and you take it away, we will quickly see a negative quantitative effect, because people will stop showing up, alums will stop giving. And so from my perspective, supporting those kinds of initiatives and programs and having a good understanding of the cultural significance of, you know, our band, not only the band, but the choir also, you know, our choir, all of our arts programs, our athletic programs as well. Where I am now, we got 28 varsity sports. I make $0 on every single one of those sports. It costs me a ton of money to run those sports. Every Saturday morning in the fall for our home football games in my stadium at my institution now, I got about 6,000 people sitting in those stands for those football games.
Yep.
And if I took that sport away, do you know what I would lose?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just think about what I would lose. And so when people come in and say, you're putting too much into athletics, why don't you stop this? Why don't you stop that?
Yeah.
It's like, well, are you gonna make up for what I'm getting from that in terms of the qualitative effect of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and so you can't talk about the band without talking about their counterpart, the football team.
Yeah.
And we've been down a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know that it is much President Mosley can do to solve that. But are you a football
What, are you
fan?
trying to say I can't play football? Is that what you're trying to
I
say?
was just about to ask.
Well, I can't.
I was about to ask if you're a football fan, or do you?
I'm a football fan.
Okay,
yes.
so then you understand how.
Oh yeah,
how
I will be at the football games. At
Yeah.
all the football games. I'm at all the football games where I'm at my institution now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you know we need to get our team back locked and loaded,
Yep.
and everybody's waiting for the team, and that's AD Theus and his staff, and and we're hoping. Are you familiar with? And I'm kind of going into a little sports thing here, but are you familiar with the new rules with like the NIL stuff and all of that?
Yep, NIL and collectives. Yeah.
Yeah, I know they. Go ahead.
You know, I was going to say, and the impact that'll have, especially in D1 athletics, where I serve now, we're an NAIA institution, but we still have a collective through the NIL. I'm familiar with it, and I know also that for a lot of places, it can be incredibly beneficial to the institution, but at the same time, if you can't compete with some of the places that have these larger collectives, and they start snagging your students, then it just kind of sets you up for failure, you know.
Yep.
But here's what I'm going to say about that, though: we can't shy away from it. We got to be in it. We got to be in it.
Yes.
You know, we've got to get a collective that's competitive and strong enough so that if anybody comes after one of our athletes, we can counter. You know, that's the way you can't shy away from it.
You're talking your good talk right now. You're talking. There's a lot of people loving hearing you say that. So that's good. That is great. We are at time.
Oh wow, this went quick, man.
Yeah. We could have went on a little bit long, but you know what? You know, sometimes you got to leave well enough alone.
Yeah.
This has been great. And lastly, let me say, I can't tell you how. First of all, I've been nervous this whole time, y'all. So if y'all can't tell,
so have I. We both have been nervous.
Because this is my first time in my life I'm ever sitting next to any collegiate president, asking questions and just bantering and just talking and having a good time. So this is a big moment for myself and our platform. And I thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity as well. I really do appreciate that. And I would love to do this again.
Yeah, we definitely have to make this a regular. I know. Listen,
After the first 100 days,
I was
let's
gonna
come back.
yeah,
and,
no.
and we'll talk about we'll talk about some of our accomplishments and
Yeah,
what we've done.
I was going
and-
to say I'm gonna leave you alone for a little bit because I know you got your hands full coming up.
Gotta
July
get-
7th, right?
Yes.
He's takes office July 7th, y'all, and so that's when we'll probably see more official things from our president-elect. And yeah, this has been great. Before we go, listen, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so at the Ad BCU. And you can follow us on Instagram. To the people who would like to support the show, please do. I think it's on one of these corners at the Cash App thing. So yeah, this has been great. This is a finale.
Wow.
This is a finale because I'm gonna take a little hiatus because I've been rolling since really October.
Wow.
So I've been teasing everybody, but I'm like, I can't quit until we know who we talking to or who's gonna be our leader. So I said, I'm gonna go until we find a president. And y'all, and
You know what better way for you to end your season?
yes,
now,
this is
with this conversation.
Perfect. It's been perfect. So thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
And
Appreciate it.
I hope we get a chance to sit down again. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. I looked in the chat. I see y'all in there going crazy in there and laughing and having a good time, which is great. So this is our last show. We will see you all in maybe 2-ish months, August. Two special people I want to thank, and just somebody I found out that is back in the fold at Bethune-Cookman University, Miss Daisy Grimes. She's behind camera. Y'all can't see her. Thank you. Welcome back. And Dr. Sherry Paramore, y'all, I talk about Dr. Sherry Paramore all the time. She's like amaze balls, y'all.
Yeah.
So listen, thank you all, and we will see you in 2 months. All right, peace.
Thank you.